Hey there, Cathy McLeish back here with Alcoholism Unpacked. And today I want to talk about our thinking. You know, my thinking causes me most of the trouble that I have. And back before I got into recovery, it really did cause me all the trouble that I had. And the problem with my thinking back then is I kept most of it to myself, and it really wasn't healthy. But I did not know it because I had nothing to compare it to. So I'm on my own trying to figure out my own life, and it's going downhill. And here's the reason. There is this saying, I think it's Einstein, and I'm going to ad lib, but it is something like, you can't get yourself out of a place that you've thought yourself into with the same thinking. I can't use the same thinking that had Cathy drinking alcoholically every day, all day long, to get myself out of this problem. I don't have the capacity to do that. So I'm going to have to reach outside of myself to get something or somebody, ideas, solutions that I don't have in order to get myself out of this hole. So my thinking is my problem, and it works like this. My thinking becomes my words. I think, then I speak. Or I think and then I tell myself something in my mind over and over again. So my thinking becomes my words. My words become my actions. My actions then become my habits. My habits become my character. And my character becomes my destiny. So let's just break that down a little bit and see how the alcoholic might get into the trouble that they are in their last years and months of drinking. I have started drinking when I was younger, and I continue to drink because I think it's fun. I think it's answering some of my problems, and my mind isn't helping me with the progression of my alcoholism because I am the last to see it because of denial. Denial is a big part of the disease of alcoholism, and it keeps the alcoholic from really seeing the truth about their life. So my thinking is telling me everything's going to be okay. I can figure this out. I can do it differently. It was their fault. It wasn't my fault. I'm not going to go there again. I won't go there with her. I will do something different, and the outcome will be different. So that thinking is followed by my actions, and I try over and over again to do something different. But the thing that never changes is drinking is always a part of that new trial. And I keep continuing to drink, crossing that line over to the alcoholic drinking that now has become a necessity. It is a physical necessity that I continue to put alcohol into my body because I now crave. I have this allergy, this desire to drink that when I put a drink into my body, I just need another drink. So my thinking keeps me trying to win that battle with alcohol. The habit has become every day I do the same thing. I take the same actions. So habitually, I'm in this cycle of doing the same thing, expecting something to be different, which I think they say is the definition of insanity, trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And because I have these habits, which are not good habits, which are unhealthy habits, I am starting to show a character which is declining. My character, my ability to show up, keep a promise, to look you in the eye and tell you the truth about why I didn't do what I said I was going to do. My ability to show up as the person that I want everybody else to see on the outside is declining because of those habits, because of the nature of my thinking that has me doing the same thing over and over again, and it is negative. So I continue to go downward because these thoughts become more and more negative as I have worse outcomes to my drinking and what is going on in my relationships, my workplace, everything in my family because of that drinking. So I have more negative thoughts about myself, which are followed by these same actions to try and get away from this thinking. Let me take a drink. The habit becomes stronger. My character goes downhill, and this is my destiny. So my thoughts become my words. My words become my actions. My actions become my habits of daily living. My habits become my character going downhill because I'm doing these same things over and over again. And my character becomes the destiny. What happens week after week, month after month, year after year, because nothing changes for the better. So how do I turn that around? How do I turn that thinking around? The best thing that happened to me in recovery was somebody came to me and said, I have an answer. I was living like you were living, and I have an answer, and I think it could help you. Now, I did. I got an answer for me. Was it the same as that person's answer? Not exactly. Our lives kind of went down different paths after I initially got sober, but I started with someone else's thinking and someone else's solution to get out of this rut of thinking that I was in. And that is what the alcoholic needs to do. Is it a specific answer that everybody has to follow that has a drinking issue? No. Everybody can find their own answer. But the thing that is very factual at this point in our drinking is that our thinking won't take us to that solution. So maybe I have to take a pause and step outside of my own thinking to remember what somebody else might have said in reference to my drinking. Maybe you should do this. How about you go there? What about that treatment center? Why don't you call your friend that got sober? All of these ideas outside of myself have the capacity to get me on a path towards different thinking. And when I took that very first step of somebody saying, I found a solution. Do you want to try what I tried? So I did. And that very first step got me in an atmosphere where people who had succeeded where I was struggling, who had managed to put down a drink a day at a time and live a much better life than I was living, started to talk different thoughts, which were followed by different actions, which developed different habits, which gave them better, stronger, healthier character, and their destiny was much different than mine appeared to be. So I kind of immersed myself in this atmosphere. And by that, let's just say alcoholically, that's a couple hours a week, 3 or 4 hours a week. And I can remember when I was in that atmosphere of people teaching me how to live a different way, whether that is outpatient, whether that is treatment, whether you step into a 12-step program of some sort. When I was in that atmosphere, everything that they were telling me was like learning a new language. And I say that because I would leave a room after hearing people talk for an hour and I would say, Cathy, can you remember one thing? Can you remember one thing that they said that was really good? And I would struggle to remember one thing. Sometimes I would take a tablet and I would write down a couple good things because on my own, I could not remember all of this new information that was coming my way. How I think that worked back then is I had nothing to stick it to. You know, it's easy to remember something about cooking, baking, because I cook and I bake. So if you tell me something about a recipe, I'm gonna know exactly what you're talking about because I have a lot of information already tallied up here that I can stick it to. When I was learning about recovery, when I was learning about living this whole new life, getting out of selfishness, stopping blaming everybody besides myself, taking responsibility, putting down a drink a day at a time, and looking at my life through an honest and open-minded lens. When I was hearing all of those things, I wasn't living that way. That was not the way that I was surviving as a practicing alcoholic, so I had nothing to stick it to. Little by little, as I put down my old ways and started to pick up these new ways of doing things, approaching life without a drink, I started to have something to stick it to. My thinking had a chance to change as new things started to come in and old ways started to go out. There was room for something new to develop, and it was healthy thinking. And that was really foreign to me. In fact, as it came in, I would be like, who thinks like that? Who does that? Who lives that way? You all have to be lying, is basically what I thought when I got into rooms of people who were trying to live their life by principles that I did not have any longer in my life as a drinking alcoholic. And so everything that they were suggesting was kind of like over the top to me at that time. And as I started to bring little by little these new ideas into my life, I started to let go of some of the old thinking that had kept me, it kept me drinking, but the reason it kept me drinking is because it was such negative, closed-minded thinking. I was not the problem. I was not to blame. Everybody else was the problem. These things were not my fault. My life had gone down a bad path, and I had been dealt a low blow. And by the time you add all of that up, you can't change because nothing is my responsibility. And if nothing is my responsibility, there's no action for me to take. And if I take no action, there's no habits that are going to change. There's no character that is going to elevate, and there's no destiny that's going to get any brighter. So, as an alcoholic, if I want my destiny to change, if I want to be able to leave some kind of legacy for the people that I say that I care about in my life, for my children, for my spouse, generation after generation is affected by alcoholism. And it can be affected by a recovering alcoholic that is living a very good life, or it can be affected by the alcoholic that chooses never to change. And oftentimes we get stuck trying to figure out what got in the way. Why me? Why not her? Why do I have to stop drinking? And we can waste a lot of time doing that. So the thinking is our problem. Put it on the back burner. Ask someone else, what do you think? What do you see? And how can you help me to get a better, clearer picture of what I need to do going forward? And then take a step in that direction and see if your life doesn't improve. Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe and follow. And if you can, just help to be a part of breaking the ignorance around alcoholism so that we can be part of the solution and less a part of the problem when it comes to the suffering alcoholic or the people who love that person and are experiencing the pain with them. Thank you.